UFC is trying to push this guy, Asakura, who is a two-time bantamweight champion, literally just left Ryzen, just like said, all right, I'm cool off of this belt at bantamweight. I'm going to come down to flyweight in the UFC, and I'm going to take over the division. Now, AJ, is it a little weird to you that a bantamweight moving down to flyweight gets this shot, given that he's a Ryzen champion right there? Like, does that speak anything to you, or are you like, normal, makes sense?
No, it's definitely a eyebrow raising, Derek, and
Yeah.
a lot of my thought going into that why he's dropping down again. Ryzen has the hydration limit, right? They make the cuts a little bit harder, or at least it harder to actually attain over in Ryzen. So now he's able to cut down to what he wants to be able to fight at right here. Going to flyweight, it is interesting to see his very first fight, the debut. You're getting locked up, going right to the gold, man. So I'm interested to see how he actually performs when the big spotlights are on him. We see him do it in Japan. We see him do it over on the East, but can he actually step up now that all the heavy lights are on him?
It's interesting to me because competing, right, at 125 pounds, of course, after you rehydrate, it might feel much more closer to what he normally competes at. But I just thought it was interesting because I looked at when you competed at 125 pounds, Kai Asakura, right? 3-1 in that tenure at 125 pounds, 3 knockout wins, 1 knockout loss. So clearly the man was crushing it, like no problem. But when you look at his 21-4 record, when you look at 13 knockouts, 3 submissions, and all of that, like, a lot of that is done at 135 pounds. But AJ, this is the key right here. I can't pull it up. I guess I can, but I'm not going to. Kai Asakura, one of the biggest names that he fought, 2 of them, right? Manel Kape and Kyoji Horiguchi, right? So you got like Bellator stuff, you got UFC stuff right here, of course, Starboy and all that. But Manel Kape, man, we've seen how he's fared in the flyweight division, and we've seen how large he is in the flyweight division. I mean, that was your bantamweight that you were fighting. So I think that Kai Asakura is sitting at 5'8", being bigger than Pantoja. I don't know if size and frame is going to be that much of a factor in this one. From a pure strength perspective, it's kind of hard to deny Pantoja. If he walks forward, eats your shots, and gets you in a body lock, rinse, wash, repeat is all the other matchups that we've had in the last 3, 4, 5. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you, Derek. The one thing I like going for Asakura in this one, he has really good sprawls and knows how to use his body to be able to use the momentum to switch things up for it. Now, that being said, it's going to be very, very hard to do against a fighter like Pantoja, who has all the same abilities, if not more polished abilities in that field. The question is when they get body to body up against that cage, who's the one that has the skill to be able to get to those positions?
Before we jump into the actual numbers, man, I think it really breaks down like this because I agree with you. I think it's a matter of we know Pantoja never been knocked out before, right? I think he's only registered 1 knockdown in his entire UFC career, and that was against Davison Figueiredo, who we know, dude, has, he has real pop in those shots. But if Kai Asakura could land the big shot and knock him out, that's what everyone's banking on. But hasn't that been what everyone's been banking on for Steve Erceg, Brandon Royval, Moreno, Perez, like all the guys, right? But if Pantoja can walk through it, I don't see how this fares much different than everything else, and I can see a submission at play. So let's talk about those numbers right here, man. Kai Asakura, worst case scenario, you get taken down early, or you get your back taken early, which we know is the Pantoja special. How much do you like that plus 165 submission on the Pantoja side?
Ooh, a lot, Derek. A lot, especially because when Kai Asakura is in the pocket, right, when things are getting crazy, he's wild, right? He's throwing some crazy shit at everybody. And if Pantoja is able to cut a corner, get to his back early when they're still dry, we've seen how fast of a finisher Pantoja can be.
And that's why I like it from this side. I'm not even trying to be too heavy on the Pantoja side, but I know that Kai Asakura likes to open up. He has solid boxing in the pocket, like you said, right? But if Pantoja is going to walk through the pocket in order to grab a hold of you, if he eats the shots, because he's a durable guy, like I said, it just comes down to the willingness of Asakura to sit there and trade as opposed to just be pure sprawl and brawl. But we have seen he has good takedown defense. I just think Pantoja is a different monster right here. At the end of the day, man, UFC, as the machine does, you have to hype up this contender. But tell me, realistically, man, Kai Asakura, do you see him being more of a threat to Pantoja than Steve Erceg or Brandon Royval was in those fights?
Not more, Derek. Not more. I'd say very, very close. And this is all being because I had massive expectations for Steve Erceg. But when you see him go into that fight against Pantoja, he did not perform the way we've seen him normally perform. And that's where I think this is same thing going to happen to Kai Asakura going into this one. A lot of people are expecting that heavy power, right? Walk him down or at least find the counter shots when those wild mans are coming at him. And with the blitz that Pantoja presents, he leaves counters open. So he can get touched up, but how durable or how powerful can Asakura be with the durability of Pantoja?
Yeah, that's the big question mark that nobody can answer until we get into the cage. But if we're looking at something right now, we can look at what the open was for Alexandre Pantoja. The open was minus 235, crept up to minus 250 now at this point. Plus 205 comeback for Kai Asakura currently. It was plus 185 at open, man. So I think that things are trending the right way and things are leaning the right way. Listen, man, no disrespect, but it's hard for me to look at Kai Asakura as this big, scary guy when I haven't seen him prove it in the biggest promotion with the toughest competition. You fought some killers out there in Ryzen. It's just a little bit of a different story. So I'm here to make some money. And AJ, I know you are too. So coming back to the money conversation right here, man, if we're looking for a Kai Asakura victory, it's hard. It's really, really hard to bank on decision Asakura, like plus 650. I don't know if I like that. TKO is realistically the one that I would go if I was an Asakura better. But I think that the best play that you could possibly take here is either going to be a Pantoja decision or a Pantoja sub, man. I don't really see it playing out any other way. And I hate to be too on that side, but that's the conviction that I have for this pick. What do you think?
No, I'm with you, Derek. And in fact, unfortunately, I'm leaning more towards that plus 350 decision. And I don't say unfortunately, because that's going to be a boring fight. I do think it's going to be very entertaining. I just think that's the most likely outcome for a Pantoja who needs to not necessarily be a bully, who needs to not rush into things. Because Kai Asakura has some pop on his shots, man. And that's why he has the best odds at for the TKO at plus 275. If Pantoja can avoid that in his blitz, I think it's going to be a very long night for Asakura.
Let's not forget, Pantoja coming off 3 straight decision victories, and Asakura has never been submitted in his entire MMA career. So it'll be interesting. I mean, man, I don't know. Pantoja, 10 subs, 10 decisions, 8 knockouts. You can get it done any one of these ways, but there's true value right there. So my final question before we get up out of here is for Pantoja, do you like a money line? Would you ride money line, or is he a parlay exclusive?
I think he's a parlay exclusive, Derek. It's minus 250 right now. Don't get me wrong. That's a very valuable price for what we've seen Pantoja do as of late, especially, Derek, with the people you're listing off, right? The Royvals, the Figueiredos, the Morenos, like all these studs that he's fighting, going up against a debut fighter. I don't know what the male version of a debutante is, but either way, nonetheless, to see that, right, you should be expecting like a minus 500, minus 300, something in that range. But Kai Asakura does have the talent to be able to stand there.
All I'm going to say is, excluding Kayla Harrison, I cannot remember when you can have some just person coming from another organization who has this great of odds. Like the open at plus 185. Like, you're right. I think it should have been much steeper for somebody who's been kind of reigning the division. Alexandre Pantoja, man. The dude hasn't lost in quite some time. We'll see what happens from there. But that is your pick. It's consensus. Alexandre Pantoja, and then AJ, just to kind of finalize, we know it's a consensus pick, but what is the official play right here? Submission, decision?
I'm rocking decision.
Decision. All right, fair. I'm going to go submission. Plus 165, Pantoja. Get him out of there. You know the man doesn't like to work overtime, bro. Let's go.